Thursday afternoon. Now, in this sort of weather, the last place you want to be is out at sea or heading to an emergency out at sea. Well, my next two guests will be getting used to that because they've volunteered for the RNLI on Arranmore Island. They're the newest crew members, Sir Pat Boyle and his partner, Julie Savoie. Pat, no stranger to Arranmore because he lived there when his parents and him returned from Scotland. His father actually still lives there. Julie has decided to make Arranmore her home, and they've both worked for years abroad: Canada, the United States, Australia, and Hong Kong. Well, let's just find out some more now, shall we, by going and having a chat with Pat and Julie. Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John.
How are you today? How's things in Arranmore? Is there much snow out there today?
There's very little snow, fortunately. The little bit that there was has now melted and gone away, but we're looking out east here at the hills at Errigal and Muckish,
Right.
and they've got a lovely coating of snow, so
So you see it in the
we're
distance.
missing it, fortunately.
Okay. Or
It's a great day to be in
unfortunately.
Northwest Donegal.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I said it's a great day to be in Northwest Donegal.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. As long as you don't have to struggle to get through it or to deal with it, it's very picturesque. Anyhow, let's chat about your journey to the RNLI. I suppose you both lived and worked abroad for years.
That's correct. For me, I left Canada. I'm starting to date myself in 2008, and a long journey brought me to Australia, where I worked for a few years. And really, over the years that my job has taken me around the world, um, and then at some stage I found my way in Dublin, where Pat and I met.
Okay.
Almost 10 years from now, we decided, the hustle and bustle was enough, and we wanted a different life. So
Yeah, we've sort of ended up here almost by accident after the sort of COVID lockdowns finished in 2023, I think it was. Sorry, 2022. We visited here to see my father and a few friends and stuff like that. And sort of almost unconsciously made the decision that we'd like to move back to Donegal. And obviously, me being from Arran, it made a certain amount of sense to move here. So it took us about a year to sell up houses, cars, boats, whatever you have in Florida where we were living at the time, and ship ourselves and our two rescue dogs over. So we landed here at the end of September 2023. And as soon as we got our feet under us here and got organized, we thought, well, how can we sort of integrate or reintegrate to the community? And it seemed obvious to volunteer for stuff. We've always sort of volunteered time, whatever else, resources to various causes roundabout. So the RNLI made sense. It's a very obvious charity here, and any charity will tell you that they always need manpower and money. So we thought, well, at our age, we're both north of 50 at this stage. Sorry, Julie. We figured, well, if nothing else, we can go and rattle a tin for them. They always need fundraisers or people who will work on a shore-based basis. But the coxswain at the time says, no, we desperately need crew, you're hired. And that's how we ended up working on a lifeboat, basically.
That's not to say you won't be involved in some fundraising.
No, because if we speak to our press officer, she was actually the first female crew on the boat, and I won't say how long ago this was because she might never speak to me again. But she's now, after years being on a crew, she's the press officer. So you've got people that have made their life's work working as volunteers for the RNLI, working for this charity on the island. So it's a phenomenal and very humbling experience or family to be part of.
So Pat, tell me a little bit about the training. I mean, you would have had experience. You fished a wee bit before you went away, and you both also had a boat in Florida. So you came to the table, so to speak, with some experience.
Yeah, well, Pat's a long fisherman. I'll let him talk about his story here. For me, I had the luck of having parents who were teachers. So we spent our summers by the lakes. Canada is famous for its lakes, right? So bumming about on boats, sailing boats, and you basically you came home when you were hurt or hungry. So it was a great experience just to muck about on boats, and we're always a little bit competitive, Pat and I, and we're sort of saying, okay, well let's get a boat and start sailing up and down the coast of Florida, and so learning that way, learning on the cuff. We're doing our day skipper ticket now, um, to just continue learning. But Pat's the real expert.
Well, for both of you, I'm sure this was a slightly different learning curve. And Pat, how did you find it? You had to go down to Cork for some of the training. Is that right?
Yeah, so a lot of the training is kind of on the job, but it's very structured. The RNLI have a very good sort of learning portal where they have a huge wealth of training courses in everything from navigation to rope work to the rules of the road for the sea, and also a pile of other stuff that you mightn't sort of think offhand would be there. There's stuff on GDPR and on management philosophies and you name it, safe driving. It's all there. It's better than any university, actually, and I've been to a few of those. But yeah, one of the modules that you need to do is survival at sea, even if you work on a lifeboat. So they ship you off for a residential for a couple of days. We did it back in October to the National Maritime College of Ireland in Cork, and they've got a huge big pool there where they can, simulate storm conditions. They've got a wave maker in it, and they've got smaller lifeboats in there, the rigid inflatable type ones. So you get thrown into the pool, you get taught to jump into the pool without life jackets, with just your normal oilskin protective gear on. And how to get yourself into life rafts, how to right life rafts and get into them, how to capsize and rewrite the inshore lifeboats, the rigid inflatable ones, and restart the engines after being immersed and carry on with your rescue. So it's a great team exercise. It's great to meet other members of the RNLI from other stations around the coast, because there's usually a couple from each, or from a bunch of stations will be there, so you'll have a dozen or two people there at a time. So it's fabulous training like that. There's a lot of self-paced learning, as I say, on the RNLI's website that you can access as a crew member. And then there are the exercises that we do on the boat every sort of 2 weeks, weather permitting, where you learn and refresh various skills there. So it's very much an ongoing education. You're never completely qualified, completely finished learning. There's always more to learn. New technology comes along, newer boats come along, new thinking about safety at sea, basically. So there's a huge amount of training there, and it's the sort of training that, if I had to pay for it, I wouldn't begrudge paying for it, but you're given this fabulous training for free. And there's a lot that you can actually take out from that training and bring to your home or your workplace. There's a lot of first aid training, there's firefighting training, there's safe driving training, there's all of that. So it's not just a one-way street of volunteering where you're giving to the RNI all the time. You get a huge amount back. And that's before we start talking about the camaraderie and the sense of achievement and the positive feeling of just warm and fuzzy you have from going, I can contribute back to my community. I can contribute to life on the island and the coastlines roundabout and the other islands as well.
Well, Julie, the main purpose, I suppose, is to be there for emergencies, and the aim would be to be at the station within 5 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes. So we're lucky. We live about 400 meters from the station.
All
So
right, that's pretty handy.
A quick trip. But yeah, so once you basically get your what we call it, in the parlance, our pager, we're ready to be safe to go on service after this training. You're on call, 24/7. And that's what everybody on this island, the dedication and selflessness of people on the island that are volunteers, they're on 24/7, always ready to help the community, whether it's a medical evacuation or there's a boat in difficulty offshore. So it's definitely a different pace of life, but you get to meet incredible people, as Pat mentioned. It's one crew, it's a group of volunteers that are like-minded, and we work as a team on the boat. I haven't had much experience. I got my pager 3 weeks ago, so I'm brand new. So I'm very excited. But it's a family, and we're all there. They're all there to support each other, because if you're on the boat and there's an issue, you have to rely on one another.
And have you been out yet? Have you been out on an emergency call yet?
I haven't. There was one call where I showed up 6:30 in the morning and then ready to go, and then the call got canceled. So I still haven't been. Luckily, it's been quiet. Knock on wood that nobody's needed our services.
Okay.
But Pat, you've been on.
I've been on work too. Nothing terribly hairy-chested or exciting. They're just medevacs. They're probably critical to the people that were medevacing.
Yeah.
But for us, that's bread and butter stuff,
Okay. But I suppose the message that you'd like to put out there is that there's a role in the RNLI for everyone, whether that's hands-on and on the boat involved in emergencies, or whether that's doing something behind the scenes. I mean, I think, is it you, Julie, you're involved in maybe helping them out with data as well, but there's something for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. So there's, you have what you see a lot in the papers of, the crews that are out on the boats helping out, but this doesn't happen without the persons that are working on shore. Those that are volunteering. I mean, the RNLI is 95% volunteers, people that are working on for them. So it's a huge amount of volunteer work. And, someone needs to take care of the boat. Someone needs to manage relations with emergency services. So you have a lot of people that are on shore helping out. And there's different amounts of time as well. I mean, you could be, if you're a business, you could be a local ambassador talking about the airline. If you live near a beach, there's some things that you can do to help with respecting the water and being safe near the water, sharing your stories. I mean, I remember the first time that we're on the boat during actually the Rose of Arranmore. One of the other things that we got volunteered in, and somebody who I'd never met came to me and shook my hands and thank you so much for the work that you do for the RNLI. I fell off my ladder off my roof, broke my back, and because of you, I'm here today. I'm like, well, great. So I'm not. I didn't do nothing,
Yeah.
but you're more than welcome. And listening to stories like that, I always get choked up. And when we had our station opening up in September, I remember getting all teary and thinking, oh my gosh, get a grip. There's no crying in baseball, as they say so much. But it's incredible to hear the stories. So if people can share those and participate in events, it's fantastic.
Well, the RNLI is vital wherever it's located around the coast, but even more so on an island. So it's interesting to hear some of those stories. The best of luck with your journey. I know, having relocated to, or in your case, Pat, back to Arranmore, and the best of luck with your volunteering as well with the RNLA. Thanks a million.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the time.
Take care. Bye bye.
Cheers.
A new year, a new floor.